Today I'm talking about hatching chicken eggs at home. So I'm gonna have a 3-part video series on this. This is part 1, which is from the eggs, everything you need to do to prepare the eggs into the incubator. Part 2 will be halfway through the incubation period, and we're going to have a look in the eggs, something called candling. You use light to see how the embryos are developing. And then part 3 is going to be from what we call lockdown, the last 3 days of incubation, when you get the eggs ready for the chicks to hatch out until we see those little chicks. Hopefully we do. So let's dive in. What do you need to hatch chicken eggs at home? Well, you need some eggs and they have to be fertilized. So that means that somebody that you know or that you've bought eggs from has a rooster and has hens that are laying eggs, and the hen has been fertilized some period of time before the eggs are laid. And then your eggs can have the ability to turn into little chicks. Now, I have my eggs from a friend of mine who lives just outside my city, who has roosters and hens. They are, for the most part, green. That's because this is a really interesting breed called an olive egger. So it's when a blue laying type of chicken mates with a brown laying type of chicken, you get this mix for these green eggs. And this is what the blue egg looks like. So I have one of those as well. So I'm very excited for these to hatch. Right now we have light brown and pinkish eggs from our chickens. So we're gonna get a little bit more variety. So let's talk about what's inside an egg. Of course, you have your egg shell, you have your white and your yolk, and in there is where your chick is gonna develop. Around your white and your yolk is a membrane, and just above, when you have the flat side at the top, which you should have, is an air cell. If you've ever hard-boiled an egg, you may have noticed that there's a gap when you break the eggshell open where there was no white and no yolk. That's the air cell. So the air cell should be at the top so that you don't have gravity fighting against it and maybe disrupting it. And you do have to be mindful that maybe when you were getting your fertilized eggs, the air cell could have been disrupted by jostling or shaking if it was shipped. So in that case, it's a really good idea, if your air cell may have been disturbed, to let your eggs rest for 18 to 24 hours before you put them in your incubator or put them under a chicken if you happen to have a broody chicken and you're going to hatch that way. When you're storing your eggs before you're ready to incubate them, you want to make sure that the pointy side is down with the air cell up and that they're just a little bit less than room temperature. The fridge is too cold. You don't want to put them in the fridge, but if you have a cellar or maybe if you have a corner of the basement that's just a little bit cooler than the rest of the environment, that is a really good place. Aim for something around 15 to 18 degrees if you can, up to maybe 20 degrees Celsius. I'm sorry, I don't know what that is Fahrenheit. We'll put it on the corner of the video here. The size of the air cell is going to change as the chick is developing. So when an egg is at its freshest, the air cell is at its smallest. The balance of humidity is going to affect how quickly that air cell shrinks. So an eggshell is a little bit permeable to air and to water. If you're in an overly humid environment, then that air cell can't shrink because it's just too wet around there. Same thing if you put the egg in water. Water will actually make it through the eggshell. It can affect the air cell. The other thing that it can do is take off the protective coating that was around the egg when it was laid. Now that coating helps to keep bacteria from entering the egg, and bacteria entering the egg can be a big reason why your hatch fails, because the same environment that's perfect for incubating a chicken, so it hatches, is perfect for incubating bacteria so that it can grow and flourish and infect things and make it so that the embryo actually can't develop properly. So you don't want to wash your egg. You want to, if it's looking a little bit dirty, brush off some of the debris. If it's too dirty, just don't try to hatch it. Hatch a different egg instead. But no water and the humidity around, if it's overly dry, will make that air cell shrink too quickly. If it's overly wet, will not let it shrink enough. It's all about finding that balance. So besides your fertilized eggs, you need a way for the eggs to hatch, which is either going to be a broody hen, broody meaning a hen that feels like doing nothing but sitting on eggs for weeks at a time, or a incubator, which is what many of us use and what I'm going to be using. Like this one. So this incubator is a Janoel 12. 12 meaning that it will comfortably fit 12 eggs, 12 chicken eggs, different kind of eggs that may be smaller. It could fit a couple more, and in fact I have hatched more than 12 quail eggs at a time with the same one. And this model has settings for humidity and temperature. It does not have a candler. Some incubators will come with a candler, which is basically just a bright flashlight. So you can use a bright flashlight instead if you want to candle your eggs. I'm going to be candling these eggs before I put them in the incubator. And you can see that right here. I'm just looking at the air cell and if the shell looks like it's overly thin. I'll have more on candling in part 2 of this series. It also does not have a way to tell what the humidity is. You can set it to be what you would like it to be, but if you want to monitor what the humidity actually is, then you're going to need a hygrometer. So you can put the hygrometer, and I have another little temperature probe as well, inside next to the eggs at the level that the eggs are going to be, because that's really where you care how humid and how warm it is. And you can monitor that on the outside and use your adjustments with water and with the settings on the incubator to get it to the ideal that you would like. Ideal temperature for incubating is 99.5 for the first 18 days of incubation, or about 37.5 Celsius. You've got a range. You can go between about 37 to 38.2 Celsius or 99 to 101 Fahrenheit. So that's where you want to be there. For humidity, it depends a lot on the rest of your environment. Do you live in a place that is a bit more humid or a place that's a bit drier? Most of us, if we're incubating inside, the inside is a drier environment than the relative outside, but maybe you're incubating in a barn or something that is a bit more naturally humid. That's all going to affect what target you may use. Most people agree it's somewhere between 40 and 65% that you want to be targeting for the first 18 days of incubation. But there is something called dry hatch, and that's when you don't try to raise the humidity. You let the eggs develop in a relatively drier environment. Some people will still watch to make sure that it doesn't go below 20% humidity. But people have really good success with that as well. We also have to talk about turning the eggs. So once your eggs are in your incubator, if they're in the same spot for too long, then the embryo could get stuck to the side of the shell and not develop properly, and you could have a lower hatch rate. So you want to turn it just a third at a time. It would be on its side, so more like this. A third of a rotation at a time, up to once an hour, but at least 5 times a day, if you don't have an incubator with an automatic egg turner. I'm lucky, this one does come with an automatic egg turner. So let me just show you how it works. So this is it right here. It's this little stick that fits inside the slot of this tray right here. And as the motor goes, it will turn this little stick around, which as it drags this back and forth, will turn the eggs. All of my eggs are less than a week old, so I am okay with the air cell shrinking a little bit faster. I also live in a relatively humid environment, but I am going to be incubating them inside, so a little bit drier. So my aim for humidity for this hatch is going to be around 40%. You may have a different calculation at home, and it may work just as well if you go for something that's higher or something that's a little bit lower. So when you're almost ready, your eggs have been resting after they've been shipped, you're sure that they're fertilized, you have your incubator, then you want to get set up. Give your incubator a minimum of 2 hours to come up to the correct temperature. And if you're going to try to adjust the humidity, you can add a little bit of water at the base of it. So I'm going to add maybe about 1/3 of a cup, maybe 1/4 cup of water just to see where that lands me with humidity and adjust it around for that target of 40% over the next 18 days, trying to keep it around there. I'm going to put my hygrometer and my temperature probe inside so that I can monitor those from another source besides the incubator, which won't tell me the humidity anyway. And as the incubator is coming up to the correct temperature, I'm going to have my eggs coming up to room temperature from where they were just a little bit chilled beforehand. I'm also going to have a quick candle of the eggs while my incubator is getting ready, just to have a look at what that air cell looks like now. It'll give me a bit of a sense of if it is shrinking too fast or fast enough when I look again in a couple of days. And it will let me see if the shell looks like it's a good, thick, normal shell, or if it looks like it's got too many pores, which might make it more likely for the hatch for that egg to fail. Once you put your eggs in your incubator, you don't want to get too panicked by any changes in the humidity or temperature over the next up to 24 hours. The eggs were a different temperature and they alter the humidity inside the incubator with their shell permeability. So it will take a little while for things to balance. You don't have to overreact, but once it's been about 24 hours, that's when you can start to adjust. And that's sort of provided that you don't find all of a sudden your temperature is shooting way up. Then yes, it's appropriate to bring it down, but more likely your temperature will drop a little bit right away when you put your eggs in, and you don't need to worry about that for the first 24 hours. Just make sure once it's been enough time for everything to acclimatize that it's at that target range of ideal temperature. If you're finding it difficult to keep the humidity where you want it to be, as in it's too low, you can help to raise it by making a bit of a shelter around your incubator. So one thing that I've done is wrap it up in towels. This can help if you find that your temperature is a little bit lower than you'd like it to be as well. It just will give it a bit more insulation. Okay, so there we go. The next time we will have a look at these eggs by candling them, it will be around day 8. This is day 1. Day 21 is when we expect a hatch. So wish us luck and come back for part 2.